Hello. So I've been in a video making mood. I made one last week, and I'm making this one now, and I might even make another one. I was thinking about it, but I think what I'm going to start doing is people ask me a lot what I've been reading. I don't really know why they ask me that. I guess it's important in ministry, but they ask me what I've been reading. They ask me why I've been reading it, and then just ask me to tell them about the book. And so I'm think what I'm going to do is start making these videos where after I'm done reading a book, I'll just say, hey, I read this book, and this is why I think you should read it. So, the first book that I'm going to do it's by the guy named Truett Cathy. Truett Cathy is the founder of Chick-fil-A. Started out as the Dwarf House, just one little restaurant, and now it's Chick-fil-A's all over. They're stretching to the west. It's over $1 billion company. So pretty smart guy, and really I was surprised. This book's called "It's Better to Build Boys Than Mend Men." It was the copyright is from 2004, so not a terribly old book. And I was just surprised by some of the wisdom that Truett has. He had 3 kids of his own, and I think maybe some foster children. Might be wrong about that, but just seems like he was a good dad, a great father, and I almost got to meet him a few summers ago. And this book made me wish that I had gotten to meet him and just talk with him about life and those kinds of things. I mean, pretty much for this book, the title says it all. Kids, when they're young and they're growing up, it's so important to make sure that they're nurtured well, make sure that they're cared for well, make sure that they have a loving environment to grow up in. And if you're not the biological parent of a child, you can still make an impact from being a neighbor to a foster parent and beyond. You can have a huge impact in children's lives. And honestly, I think I actually grabbed this book for a project, and it had like 2 or 3 good quotes from my project, but it just ended up being probably the first book I've ever grabbed for a project that I just read straight through. I mean, it took me, less than 3 or 4 days to read it. As it's not big at all. The lettering's huge and that kind of stuff. So it's a really easy read. It's like 115 pages. But really, some of the principles in here of just giving time to people, really caring for people, really loving them, even simple things like a hug, just I think it's invaluable for us to get some of these principles down, get some of these ways to just love and care for people down, because even in my relationship with my girlfriend, or my relationship with my parents, or my relationship with a best friend, or with somebody I just met, some of these things like listening and simple things like that, Truett talks about and says this is what children need. And I think also it stretches, this is what our friends need. This is the kind of care, this is the kind of love that the world needs. And so it's better to build boys than to mend men. Children are so impressionable. They need to be loved and cared for, because a lot of times what happens in your childhood, what happens when you're a kid, really does affect who you become. It affects how your family ends up looking. And Truett he gives so many real life stories, things that he's dealt with, things that he's experienced, and it was just really helpful for me, and I ate it up, so I hope you will too. Again, it's Better to Build Boys Than Mend Men by Truett Cathy, the first review.